What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we got a brand new video, this time on Plug, the collapse that's been happening, the massive market shake that has happened over the past few days. The Fed report didn't help, was the main reason for all of this, but Plug and the hydrogen companies have been battling it out, and recently had some good news. Before we get to that, if you're not subscribed, make sure to smash that sub button because we're going to do 1,000 subscribers. So let's look at this Plug Power price chart here. This is the daily chart. So you see the massive run up. Obviously, this was earlier last year, and then these very big volatility down, up, down, everything happening. But recently, we have actually re-entered this red zone, which we were in for a long time right here. It spent a lot of time obviously bobbing up, going down, and doing this for weeks, and then an explosion up. So right now, what we'd be looking for on the chart is probably, going back down to this 2363 level. So will it happen? Not guaranteed, obviously, but we are in this zone right now. So probably some bobbing up and down. And whichever one breaks, we either break up and have a pretty good rally up like we had before, or if we break down, I mean, there is, nothing below here that's really any cemented support or anything for the chart. So I don't think we're going to break down. We could go down to these levels, go out for a little bit, but come back in and kind of stay in this range until the macro situation of the stock market and the Fed response and everything going on gets settled, and there's less uncertainty and less fear in the overall market. But there was good news that came out for Plug, which was this investment bank, KeyBank Capital Markets, just initiated coverage of all big fuel cell stocks. So it's Plug Power, Fuel Cell, Ballard Power, and Bloom Energy. And then, their stocks didn't react well to that because it's good news and it's good to see them getting, recognition or analysts coming to them. But the overall market just in a very weak spot. So it's not a huge thing going on. And then you see the growth of this hydrogen industry. It's talking about will be sizable over the entirety of this decade. According to KeyBank, by 2030, the global fuel cell industry will reach 300 billion in size. And to put that in context, if you add up all the revenue booked by Plug, Fuel Cell, Ballard, and Bloom over the past year, the total comes to just $1.1 billion. So that's like a 300x in market size. And then obviously the companies named here, Plug, Fuel Cell, Ballard, and Bloom, are going to be the ones that get the most out of this and are, the best suited to just explode in value and actually have a lot going for them. But you see, even down here, it talks about the investors being weary of this $300 billion, market cap or market size, and them not actually wanting or them not believing that it might actually happen. So we could see it, and it just seems very eerily similar to like a Tesla, where everyone bet against it, but this Tesla, it just came out on top. And we've seen partnerships with Plug, all of their infrastructure they built last year, all of it coming to fruition. And this year we get to see it go in action, at least a little bit. And there's even more good things about Plug that I think puts them above these other companies. And that would first be these like earnings reports. So even though we look at Plug, this is their revenue was $143 million for the quarter. You compare that to like a Bloom Energy, they actually had more, 207, but Fuel Cell much less. But the big thing that I would want to focus on for these is this right here, cash on hand for Plug Power. You see $3.37 billion. They have massive cash. They can get themselves to profitability, which is 2024. That's their target date. They can get there relatively easily with just the cash they have on hand, and they can use that to grow the business without diluting shareholders. And they go through all this process and actually move forward as growth happens with the company. And you look at these other companies like Bloom, the cash on hand is only $121 million, so not as good. And then Fuel Cell actually has the second best, which is $432 million. So Even when you compare these things like negative 24 million for income, so they can fuel cell has a good barrier, a good buffer of cash on hand to get through these growth stages where they're not making money. Bloom doesn't have that, so negative 52 million with only 121 million dollars of cash on hand. That is going to only last them a few months, and then they're going to be either needed to dilute shareholders, raise more money, somehow get this money. So a lot of people are loving Bloom Energy. I don't. I know they have the most in revenue, but their cash on hand isn't looking great. I haven't looked into the company all that much, so I don't know. But Plug, like $3.3 billion, they have years of time that they can just sit here and lose money and continue moving and growing their business without needing to worry about anything. So that's just one of the biggest things that Plug has going for it that is kind of ignored by a lot of people. And then this is a big thing as well. We all know insiders are these guys who, when they're betting on their company, it's a very good look. It means they believe in what they're saying. They believe that their company is going to do great things, and they think the price for the stock right now is cheap if they're buying, or more expensive or overvalued if they're selling. So if we look directly at Plug, you can see them obviously only, so there was one sell, so 3 total sales since, we'll call it May of 2021, and then this had 8 buys, 18 buys at these price levels, around $26, $27, another buy in October, and then even more recently in December, 8 buys by 8 insiders. You see no selling happening since, the summer of 2021 with massive buys from insiders. To me, that shows that there's a massive confidence in Plug Power. They believe what they're saying. They believe they're going to grow at the rates they say they're going to grow, and they like the plans that they have in place on the inside that they're talking about. And they think that stock right now is cheap. And I'll compare that to like a Bloom Energy. I mean, very mixed. Very, very mixed. You see some buys with majority sells. I wouldn't think this is a good look for, Bloom, or at least the short term. If you're seeing eight sells for 2 buys, and then 4 sells for 1 buy, and then recently you have another buy with no sales. But it's just massive selling, whereas compared to Plug, it's massive buying with no selling. And then finally, even if you look at fuel cell could look all right. It's kind of mixed as well. So this is kind of mixed. This is mixed, but way more selling, and then way more buying for Plug. But for fuel cell, we at least had a lot of buying in this like $9, $6, $6 range. There's a lot of buying, and you see it start to get back up to 9, 10. There's some selling, and this recent fall, they don't even have any buys in this recent fall yet. But for these companies, it's massive. These insider trades, the insiders tell us what they think of their plan. Do they believe themselves or believe in themselves? Do they think that this growth is going to happen for the company? And then do they think the company is overvalued or undervalued? And we're seeing Plug heavily think that they are undervalued. We're seeing Bloom kind of think that they're overvalued, lots of selling. And then fuel cell kind of mixed, not really seeing if it's overvalued, undervalued, maybe fair value there. But the massive thing is with Plug is they have the cash on hand to handle any storms, handle the interest rate hike, and continue growing their company. Bloom is going to be very difficult. Fuel cell, they probably can do it with the cash they have on hand. They have quite a bit. They don't have a lot of expenses, but the growth for them isn't going to be as easy to kind of achieve if they don't, deploy some cash. So there's a lot of things going on there. Plug Power, I think, is the best suited to take over and take off in this hydrogen market. And there's definitely going to be an interesting year for Plug to see if their plans pan out. The insiders tell us that they think they're going to. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Here's my next video.